Have you ever stopped to wonder why following the crowd so often leaves you feeling empty, unsure, or even stuck? I want you to pause for a moment and consider this. Whenever you find yourself on the side of the majority, it is time to reflect, not just act. Too often life tempts us to follow paths that seem safe, popular, or widely accepted, and yet these paths rarely lead to the fulfillment your heart truly seeks. What if the choices you make today are more about comfort than courage? What if the opinions of others are shaping your decisions more than your own inner wisdom? As you listen to me, know that you are invited to examine the patterns in your life, the habits, the compromises, the moments when you followed because everyone else did. By the end of this reflection, you will see the freedom and clarity that come when you learn to stand for yourself, even when it feels lonely or uncomfortable. Take a deep breath and prepare to challenge the unseen pressures that guide your life, because understanding this is the first step toward mastering your own destiny. And as you journey with me through this reflection, I encourage you to subscribe, not just to hear more words, but to equip yourself with the guidance that will help you pause, discern, and choose wisely, day after day. Remember, real strength is not found in the applause of the crowd, but in the quiet confidence of knowing your own mind. Let us consider for a moment the subtle ways in which you may have surrendered your own judgment without realizing it. It happens quietly, almost imperceptibly. You might find yourself agreeing with friends, co-workers, or society's expectations simply because their opinions are louder or more convenient than your own inner voice. Perhaps you've chosen a career, a relationship, or even a daily routine that felt normal rather than true to who you are, thinking that following the majority would guarantee safety or acceptance. I assure you, there is a kind of comfort in conformity, but it is a fleeting comfort, one that often leaves a hollow ache where your own convictions should thrive. Pause and ask yourself, how many decisions in your life were made to please others rather than honor your own principles? How many opportunities did you decline because the crowd told you it wasn't the right time, the right place, or the right person? These are not just abstract questions. They are the very moments that shape your confidence, your courage, and ultimately, the life you lead. Now, I want you to reflect on the courage it takes to step away from the familiar path. Imagine standing at a crossroads where the road everyone else is taking is well-trodden, lined with reassuring signs, while your own path is uncertain, perhaps even intimidating. It is precisely in these moments that your character is forged. Choosing the path that resonates with your inner truth may invite skepticism, disapproval, or even isolation, yet it is also where genuine growth and fulfillment reside. History shows that those who dared to pause and reflect, who resisted the magnetic pull of the majority, often discovered insights, opportunities, and achievements that the crowd could not imagine. You are no different. Within you lies the same potential to discern, to question, and to act deliberately rather than reactively. When you step back from the noise and examine why you do what you do, you reclaim control over your life, your emotions, and your future. And yet I understand it is not always easy. Fear whispers that standing apart will make you vulnerable, that solitude is weakness, and that the approval of others is validation. But consider this: true strength is not measured by how many follow you, but by the clarity and integrity with which you walk your own path. Each time you notice yourself aligning automatically with the majority, take it as an invitation to reflect. Pause. Observe your motives. Ask whether this action, this decision, this belief truly serves your life or merely placates the expectations of others. Reflection in these moments is a practice of self-respect. It is a quiet rebellion against complacency, a declaration that your life will be guided by wisdom rather than habit, by principle rather than popularity. And remember, every time you pause to reflect, you teach yourself that your mind is your own most powerful ally, capable of discerning truth, choosing courage, and shaping the life you deserve. Think about the countless decisions you make every single day, some small, some monumental, and consider how often the invisible hand of the majority guides them. Perhaps you've held back your opinion in meetings because everyone else seemed confident, or you've pursued goals that were expected of you, rather than those that stirred your own heart. Maybe you've silenced your instincts to fit in, fearing judgment or exclusion, and in doing so compromised the very essence of who you are. It is not easy to recognize these moments because the influence of the majority is subtle, almost imperceptible. cloaked in the guise of convenience, politeness, or practicality. Yet it is precisely this subtlety that can keep you from noticing how much control you've surrendered over your own choices. I ask you now gently but earnestly, are the directions you follow truly yours, or are they borrowed from the expectations and assumptions of others? Pause, even for a few breaths, and let yourself feel the weight of this question. Awareness is the first step toward freedom. Once you become aware, the next challenge is to trust yourself in a world that constantly reinforces conformity. It may feel uncomfortable at first, almost as if stepping into unfamiliar territory without a map. But courage is cultivated in these very moments. I want you to imagine yourself standing firm, even when those around you move in unison toward an uncertain destination. Picture the strength it takes to question what everyone else accepts, to weigh your choices not by their popularity, but by their alignment with your values and goals. It is in this deliberate pause, in the act of asking yourself, "Is this right for me?" that true self-leadership begins. The crowd may offer applause, ridicule, or indifference, yet your inner guidance, the quiet, persistent voice of reason, conscience, and integrity, is your compass. Listen to it, follow it. It will never lead you astray, for it knows the terrain of your life better than anyone else ever could. And let me remind you, reflection is not mere hesitation or avoidance. It is an act of empowerment. Each time you resist the automatic pull of the majority, you strengthen your ability to make decisions that honor your principles, your vision, and your unique path. The more you practice this, the more confident you become in discerning when to follow, when to observe, and when to lead yourself boldly forward. Life is full of crossroads, and many of them are masked by the illusion of unanimity. Recognize these moments. Name them. Treat them as invitations to exercise clarity, judgment, and courage. In doing so, you're not just making better choices, you are cultivating a life of authenticity, resilience, and self-respect. Remember always that the majority may sway, persuade, or even pressure, but it is the deliberate, reflective mind that steers the soul toward true fulfillment. Now that you have paused and reflected, the true test lies in what you do next. Reflection alone is not enough. It must transform into deliberate action, rooted in the clarity you have cultivated. Imagine standing at the edge of a decision, fully aware of the pressures, the popular opinion, and the conventional path that beckons. You feel the tension between comfort and courage, between the easy choice and the choice that aligns with your deeper purpose. I want you to see yourself leaning not on the reassurance of others, but on the quiet certainty that comes from understanding your own values, desires, and limits. Acting in this space requires patience, humility, and resolve. It requires telling yourself that, even if the majority takes one direction, you are permitted to step differently, to trust that your path, though solitary at times, carries the promise of growth, integrity, and fulfillment. Consider the moments in your life when you acted without reflection, when you followed instinct alone, or were swept along by what everyone else thought was right. Perhaps the results were mixed. Perhaps some choices led to regret. Reflection changes that trajectory. It equips you to act with foresight, weighing risks and rewards not according to convention, but according to what truly serves you. And yet, action does not demand perfection. It demands courage. Even a small step toward your own truth sends ripples through your life, reshaping your confidence, your relationships, and your sense of self. Every choice made deliberately, with consciousness of your values, is a declaration that you will no longer be a passive participant in your own existence. You begin to live proactively, with the knowledge that your life is yours to shape, and the majority, no matter how loud, does not define your worth or direction. I want you to reflect on a simple truth. Often, the greatest victories are invisible, internal, and quiet. When you act aligned with your own insight, the world may not notice immediately, and some may even resist or criticize, but you will feel it. You will sense the integrity and power that comes from choosing for yourself. There is no substitute for this experience. It is in these deliberate, sometimes lonely moments that resilience is forged, clarity is sharpened, and self-respect deepens. So when you find yourself tempted to follow the crowd out of habit or fear, remember that your mind, your heart, and your judgment are far more valuable guides than the temporary approval of others. Pause, reflect, and then act, not for applause, not for acceptance, but because you are finally learning to navigate your life with wisdom, courage, and intention. Even after you have paused, reflected, and acted, the journey is far from over. Life is rarely kind to those who choose their own path, and the majority rarely applauds choices that challenge the familiar or the comfortable. You may encounter doubt, criticism, or even isolation, and in those moments, it is essential to hold fast to the confidence you have cultivated within yourself. Understand that the opinions of others are transient, often influenced by their fears, biases, or limited perspectives. What matters most is your own clarity, your own sense of purpose, and your willingness to honor your inner compass. There will be days when the weight of the crowd feels suffocating, when the reassurance of conformity tempts you to surrender. But remember this: the strength you seek is not found in agreement or acceptance, it is found in resilience, in the quiet knowledge that your decisions are made with conscience, integrity, and courage. Each time you choose your own path, despite the noise around you, you build a reservoir of trust in yourself that no majority can erode. Think of the small victories, those moments when you quietly chose differently, even when no one else noticed. Perhaps you spoke a truth that others avoided, pursued a dream that seemed unconventional, or acted with compassion when the world demanded indifference. These moments are your proof that your judgment matters, that your insight is valid, and that your life is capable of being guided by principles higher than the fleeting currents of popular opinion. Do not dismiss them, reflect on them often, and let them remind you of your inherent power. There is a certain elegance in living life intentionally, in moving through decisions with awareness and integrity, even when it means walking alone. Those who have walked this path before you, including those whose wisdom I draw upon, found that the greatest satisfaction comes not from the applause of the crowd, but from the quiet certainty of having chosen rightly for themselves. It is also important to recognize that confidence is not arrogance and independence is not isolation. You may still seek advice, support, and companionship, but the difference lies in how you receive it, as guidance, not as direction, as perspective, not as command. When you learn to maintain trust in your judgment while remaining open to insight, you create a life balanced between discernment and growth. Life will continually test you, presenting situations where the majority's voice grows loud and persuasive, and yet each test is an opportunity to exercise the skill you have cultivated. Every time you pause, reflect, act, and stand firm, you reinforce the foundation of self-respect, clarity, and resilience that will carry you through both challenges and triumphs. And as you continue this practice, consider this: the world often mistakes conformity for wisdom and popularity for truth, but those who embrace reflection, courage, and independent thinking find themselves equipped to navigate complexity, uncertainty, and change with grace and strength. You are learning to become a person who is not swayed by the transient opinions of others, but guided by enduring principles, inner insight, and the quiet power of discernment. When you embrace this path, you begin to see life not as a series of pressures to conform, but as a canvas on which to craft your own purpose, meaning, and legacy. Pause when the majority pulls, act when your conscience guides, and trust that the life you shape through mindful choice will be richer, freer, and more profoundly yours than anything the crowd could ever offer. As you move forward, it is not enough to simply act differently in isolated moments. The true challenge lies in sustaining this awareness, this courage, this deliberate choice over the course of your life. Life is not a single decision, nor a single moment of bravery. It is a continuous series of crossroads, opportunities, and subtle pressures that constantly test your commitment to living intentionally. You may find days when the weight of conformity feels heavier than your resolve, when the voices of the majority echo louder than your own inner wisdom. In these moments, remember that reflection is a habit, one that must be exercised daily. Pause before agreeing automatically, before following the easy path, and before yielding to popular opinion. Ask yourself not once but repeatedly whether each action, each word, each choice aligns with your principles, your values, and the life you are striving to build. This is not a burden. It is your liberation, the practice through which you claim ownership of your destiny and safeguard your integrity. Consider the patterns in your life that may have gone unnoticed, the times you deferred to others, the habits that were formed simply because they were expected, the routines that created comfort without fulfillment. Now, imagine transforming those moments into opportunities for conscious choice. Imagine approaching every decision, whether monumental or seemingly trivial, with the same clarity and discernment you would bring to the most critical matters of your life. Over time, this consistent practice becomes instinctive. You develop an inner compass so finely tuned that the pull of the majority no longer unsettles you, for you have learned to navigate by principles, not by applause. You begin to experience the profound freedom of knowing that every step you take is deliberate, purposeful, and authentic. And in this practice, the rewards extend far beyond decision-making. They cultivate resilience, calm in the face of uncertainty, and a confidence that is unshakable because it is grounded not in external validation, but in self-trust. It is also important to embrace patience with yourself. Mastery of independent thought, discernment, and courage is not instantaneous. It is a lifelong pursuit. You will stumble, at times follow the crowd unwittingly, or hesitate when boldness is required. These moments are not failures. They are lessons, reminders that awareness itself is a journey. Each time you notice your own patterns and gently correct your course, you reinforce your capacity for reflection, self-control, and wise judgment. Think of it as planting seeds. Each moment of thoughtful choice is a seed that grows into a stronger sense of self, a more deliberate life, and a resilience that can weather the turbulence of external pressures. Over time, these seeds flourish into habits, values, and instincts that guide your actions with confidence and clarity, even when the majority moves in another direction. Finally, I invite you to imagine the life that unfolds when reflection, courage, and deliberate choice become your constant companions. You begin to notice the subtle manipulations of social influence, the quiet urgencies of conformity, and the fleeting allure of popularity for what they are: temporary, external, and inconsequential compared to the enduring authority of your own judgment. You learn to trust your instincts without arrogance, to act decisively without fear, and to navigate both solitude and social interaction with the steady assurance that comes from knowing who you are and what you stand for. The world may continue to change and the majority may sway in directions you do not follow, yet you move with calm, clarity, and purpose, guided by the inner wisdom that reflection has nurtured. It is here, in the alignment of thought, action, and principle, that the life of true independence, resilience, and fulfillment is built, and it is here that you will discover the profound strength of choosing your own way, every day, in every moment. As we reach the close of this reflection, I want you to take a deep breath and consider the life you are crafting with each choice you make. You now understand that pausing, reflecting, and acting deliberately are not just abstract ideas. They are the foundation of a life guided by your own wisdom, not the fleeting whims of the crowd. Remember that the majority can offer comfort, distraction, or approval, but it can never grant the clarity, integrity, and resilience that come from conscious decision-making. Every time you recognize the influence of others and choose instead to follow your inner guidance, you reinforce the strength of your character, the depth of your insight, and the courage of your convictions. This practice, repeated day after day, becomes a quiet revolution within your own life, shaping a future that is authentically, undeniably yours. Consider for a moment the difference between living reactively and living intentionally. The reactive life is one where the majority's opinions dictate your pace, your priorities, and your sense of self-worth. The intentional life, however, is one where each decision is made with awareness, integrity, and courage, grounded in the truth of who you are. Imagine the freedom, the self-respect, and the quiet confidence that comes from knowing that your actions are chosen, not inherited from habit or social pressure. You do not need to seek the approval of others. Your validation comes from alignment with your own values and purpose. In this space, you discover that the path less traveled is not lonely, it is liberating. It is here that true growth, happiness, and fulfillment reside. And now I ask you to take the next step with me. Subscribe to this channel not as a passive viewer, but as an active participant in the journey of reflection, courage, and self-mastery. Every video is an invitation to pause, to reflect, and to strengthen the mind that guides your life. By choosing to engage, you reinforce the habit of independent thought, you nurture your capacity for deliberate action, and you commit to living a life that is truly your own. Like this video if it resonates with you, not out of habit, but as a declaration that you are willing to pause, to reflect, and to act with courage. Let these choices, small and deliberate, be the stepping stones to the life you deserve. Remember always, the majority may be loud, and the world may try to sway you, but your greatest power lies in the quiet strength of your own discernment. Stand firm, act with integrity, and live a life that reflects the wisdom of your own heart, the courage of your convictions, and the clarity of your reflection. The freedom, the confidence, and the fulfillment you seek have always been within your reach. All it takes is the courage to pause, to reflect, and to choose for yourself.